Welcome to another Steeler Thoughts and Chief Feelings film review. This episode is reviewing the Chiefs Sunday Night Football Week 3 win in Atlanta. They ended up winning 22-17, and we've got several plays to break down here, plays that were impactful or interesting in some way. But before we get started, I wanted to thank everyone who's been following us on YouTube, on whatever podcasting app you get podcasts. We record a podcast every Monday, and we release that with the name Steeler Thoughts and Chief Feelings. We usually recap the previous week's games, especially the Chiefs and Steelers games, but also just games around the league. And then we preview the week to come for the Chiefs and the Steelers. Also, we're on social media. We're at STCF715 on TikTok, Twitter, and on Instagram. On Twitter in particular, on game days, we will post quite a bit during the games and mainly in the couple hours after the game, kind of breaking down what happened in the Chiefs and Steelers games of the week. Every once in a while, we might miss a game here and there based on our schedules, but we try to do that for every game. And then additionally, we have these film reviews after every Chiefs and Steelers game. Usually sometime in the middle of the week, Wednesday, Thursday time, we will release film reviews of each game and kind of talk through what happened in those games. So let's start with this one. Here we are in the first quarter in Atlanta, and the Chiefs have the ball down 7-0. The Falcons have just scored on their opening drive, and the Chiefs are driving now, trying to answer. And the Chiefs are in 13 personnel on this play. So 13 personnel means that there's one running back, that's where you get the 1, and 3 tight ends, where you get the 3 and 13. So the tight ends here, we've got Travis Kelce, inside him Noah Gray, and inside him Jared Wiley. Since we have one tight end, one running back, and 3 tight ends, that only leaves one other eligible receiver. So we get the wide receiver up there. That's Xavier Worthy. All right. So what's going to happen on this play? So the 13 personnel usually is an indication to the defense that you're running the ball. And as you see, the Falcons have 3 linebackers here and only 4 defensive backs. So they're in a base defense. And it's a defense that's generally designed to play against the run. Well, the Chiefs are going to throw out of this formation, and what they're going to do is they're going to have Travis Kelce run a deep over. They're going to have Noah Gray kind of cross with him and then sit, and Jared Wiley's going to leak out into the flat. Carson Steele's going to leak out in the other flat, and the shot here is Xavier Worthy running a post. And this ended up against good coverage. The Falcons have a cover 4, which basically means that each of the 4 defensive backs is going to be responsible for a quarter of the field. They also call this quarters coverage. And so what that does is it kind of makes each person have to kind of stay aware. When you have a post or any route that's kind of coming across multiple defender zones, defenders will often kind of key on what's going on up ahead of them in their zone, so they have to stay cognizant of what's going on either side of them, just in case a defender comes into their zone from another quarter. So a lot of times these routes that come over and deep are good because it makes safeties pay attention in order to gain enough depth to be there to help out. So let's kind of watch how this plays out once in real time. So you can see the routes we're talking about. Kelce comes over here. This is actually a great concept against man, right? You're having the 2 guys switch over. Not as effective against zone. And you can see the corners, the DBs all keeping their quarters, right? Each of these guys is looking at a quarter of the field. And what we talked about, the post route starts to happen here, right? So Xavier Worthy is coming up, and then he does a good job of, as he's running up, notice the kind of angle he's taking right here. He's pushing this route in this direction. So what that does is it gives less interest to the safety here, right? This looks like this could be a corner route from this view, right? You see Worthy coming up, push in, and then push out, right? And so if you, as the inside safety, take a peek over at this route right here, this looks like something that you may not have to worry about, right? He's going out into this corner's quarter. That's Mike Hughes over there. But what Worthy ends up doing is he bends it back in as he gets to the safety's blind spot, right? So look, the safety's not paying attention. He comes here, bends it right back in, and suddenly he is completely out of the picture. He doesn't even have any awareness. I believe that's Justin Simmons over there. Jesse Bates over here is more in position, but if you look, he is a lot more concerned with Travis Kelce's over route that's coming over here. And so he also isn't getting the depth that would be required to stop Xavier Worthy. So this ends up being a really well-designed play that gets Xavier Worthy one-on-one with Mike Hughes, who, we know in Kansas City, he played for us in the 2021 season, and he was actually like a fairly serviceable second corner. I don't have bad things to say about Mike Hughes. He made a crucial interception in a Week 1 win against Cleveland. There was a game-sealing interception. He had a fumble recovery for a touchdown against the Raiders at home. He wasn't like a stellar cornerback, but he wasn't like a huge liability. He was, he was a serviceable corner to have, and I think that's what I would imagine he is in Atlanta today. I haven't really been, following him. I feel like, his time before Kansas City obviously wasn't that great. I believe in Minnesota, but since then, he's still starting in this league. Like he was a serviceable corner when he was with us. But when you get Worthy matched up one-on-one against a corner in a shot play, gotta have it. And so you look at where Mahomes is right here getting ready to throw the ball, and this is the picture that he sees. He sees Bates headed more in this direction. Worthy is going to clear him anyway. He's so fast. Like at this point, he's past even with the safety, and the safety is kind of moving in the opposite direction. So you really have a ton of room. I always like to look at it at the moment that he throws the ball, what he's looking at and where he can throw it. He has got, down by the goal line where we can't see right now, he's got wherever he wants to put this ball. And he ends up, if you notice, he throws this ball at the landing point is somewhere around here. As you can see, so from this view, the landing point is somewhere around here. And let me actually back it up a little bit so we can see. So there are a couple things that are problematic. This throw, it's hard to see from this far zoomed out, but you can see the ball coming in. At this point, the ball's right there. The ball coming in, and it ends up being knocked down by Mike Hughes, and it's an incomplete pass. So there are a couple frustrations. A lot of people watching this play, have noted there is a ton of room. Mahomes, it seems unfortunate that this ball was thrown in a place where the defensive back could knock it down. There is just so much room. There's nobody deep anywhere over here. So the kind of common refrain was, he's got to throw this ball a little farther out so that the DB can't get to it. That is true. I don't really have a lot of fault with that. If you kind of just lob this ball and let Worthy run under it, he seems to be very good at tracking the ball. He seems to be, he's obviously faster than Mike Hughes is a pretty fast guy, but so instead of dropping the ball where it ends up right around there, if he had put it, it's off the screen, but even just a little farther over here and put a little more, if you put more air under it, the ball is going to drop a little shorter, right? But even if you put it there and just let him run to it, that is a critique. And I feel like that's fair. I haven't played quarterback myself, so the difficulty of that, remember he's making a really long throw, but Mahomes has the arm talent. You do wish that he had just put the ball a little bit farther out and just left a little air under it, which is not typically how he throws deep balls. I think we mentioned that in a podcast last week when we were talking about Cam Taylor-Britt's interception of Mahomes. He doesn't always lay it up there, really get some good arc on it. That's not typically how he throws deep balls, but that's one thing. The other thing I want to mention, if you watch, again, I stopped it here for a reason. You know, it's going to be right here between the T and the L about where the ball is going to go. And if you notice, Worthy doesn't take like a straight line path to get there. Watch Xavier Worthy run as he gets to the ball. Because if you look at his body position, and this is very important here, right now, Mike Hughes, he's got him kind of right behind him. He's like almost like a post-up position in basketball. Mike Hughes cannot make a play on a ball. If the ball were thrown right here and it came right now, Mike Hughes would have to go through him to make a play on that ball. And then watch Worthy as he kind of rounds this out. You see how, like, instead of him ending up going from point A to point B, it's almost like he goes... Well, this is an exaggeration, but he kind of goes like this, right? It's like a little bit of a curved run, and look what the result is with where Mike Hughes ends up relative to him, right? So back here, he's got Hughes right behind him, and that little extra curve when he kind of runs around it allows Hughes to undercut him a little bit and get to the ball. So I think there are a couple things that end up going wrong here. It's more of just if this ball had been thrown here, it's probably a touchdown. If Worthy, instead of like rounding like he did here, if he had instead from the goal line come a little more straight, he probably doesn't give Mike Hughes the position to come across his face and knock this ball down. So a couple things could have been better about this play. It's very disappointing, though, that we're in a position where our fastest wide receiver and the fastest player in the history of the combine, who also is good at tracking deep balls, gets behind everybody and is one-on-one, has the entire field, and we're not able to complete that pass. That is disappointing. Here you can see the 13 personnel, and you can see, this looks like a run formation. You've got your 3 tight ends, big package, and they end up throwing a shot play from it, and it was there. And here you can see Mike Hughes coming across and knocking the ball down. All right, we're later in the same drive now. Chiefs are still down 7-0, and they have themselves in a 2nd and 8 just outside the Falcons' 14-yard line. So the Chiefs come out in 12 personnel. They're 1 running back, Carson Steele, and they got 2 tight ends, Travis Kelce and Noah Gray, 2 wide receivers then, and that's Rashee Rice and Juju Smith-Schuster over there. And then look at the Falcons here. It kind of looks like from the start that they could be in a cover 2 situation. You see now as the Chiefs get some motion, but they actually end up running a cover 0. So if you look, what they've got is they're sending 6. They've got this guy is responsible for Carson Steele, who's in pass protection right now. Simmons has got Noah Gray. Ajay Terrell's got Travis Kelce, and the corner and safety over here are manned up as well. And the Chiefs' concept is not really like a concept with a hot read for cover 0. So they're running a drive concept here where they've got 2 in cuts at different levels. So they have Rice is here and Juju's there, and Rice is open. But let's go back to when Mahomes tries to throw this ball. So he does have the in cut, but unfortunately Mahomes is starting on this side of the field. So he's reading this side of the field, which is not as conducive for a hot route, although he does have Kelce right here too. So really, like, as he hits the back here, he does have Kelce, and he sees that he's got Gray too. He just needs to put the throw out to the corner. So ultimately, like, if you're looking at his decision making, right, like, when you come and cover 0, based on their protection, the way that they had it blocked up, their free rusher is coming from the middle, which is less than ideal, right? Like, if you block it really well, you want your free rusher coming from one of the ends if you're going to let somebody free. But the Falcons got the Chiefs' protections this time with their blitz. It was disguised well enough that the free rusher kind of looping right toward the middle. So Mahomes doesn't have a ton of time, but he does have time to look at one side of the field. So it's kind of, he starts to his right. So now, even though this worked nicely and Rashee Rice is open, it's not available to him. He's looking at the right side. So we can only really evaluate what he sees over here. And so he's trying to hold it to the last minute, knowing he has a free rusher. And he does, he's got Kelce, but Terrell tries to kind of break on it. And then he's throwing the corner to Gray. And ultimately, he just doesn't quite have enough on this throw. Like, this is not a bad decision to throw this ball. It's just that the ball needs to be deeper toward the corner. Like, instead of coming down over here, had this ball come down a little bit over there. Gray can run under that throw, and that could be a touchdown. Interestingly, on the All-22, when Kelce saw, like, Terrell over here, watch this, he sees Mahomes throw it, and Kelce thinks it's a touchdown. He's celebrating. Because if he puts that in the right spot, that is a touchdown. But this is a throw that I think watching the broadcast view, I was a lot more critical of Mahomes. I was thinking you got to put that ball farther back, but he's got a free rusher coming and hitting him right after the throw. So it's not shocking to me that this ball was underthrown. I think more than anything, like, it's a situation where you kind of wish he got more on it. Wish he, eat it, and although, it was there to get off. It's tough, but it's ultimately, like, the issue is that the protection was fooled. They had a free rusher. The guy got a hit on Mahomes, and Mahomes threw it inaccurately. It's just a lot more explainable to me seeing this rather than just thinking he made a bad throw, which, it is underthrown, but, he gets hit right as he's throwing. Like, it's hard for me to fault the guy too much. I think if you're a Chiefs fan, it's a good thing to see, because I think our thoughts, like, man, what's happening? Like, why is he missing throws like this? Well, this play has a pretty good explanation for why he missed that throw. It's too bad. If he had chosen to read the other side here, this is a 2nd and 8, maybe he'd be able to get that to Rice, and Rice, gets somewhere close to the first down marker. But unfortunately, he chose to read the right side. Good read. The rush got there in good time, and he just wasn't quite able to get the ball deep enough, and Justin Simmons ends up with the interception. Here we can see it from the end zone view. Kelce goes in motion, and he just didn't quite get enough on that throw. All right, so we've gone over 2 throws that it kind of looks like Mahomes missed. So let's get back to having some fun. Here we are now on the Chiefs' second drive. They're still down 7-0, and they're facing a crucial third down here at Atlanta's 33-yard line. So the Chiefs are out in 11 personnel now. 1 running back and 1 tight end, that being Travis Kelce, gives you 11. And they've got the 3 wide receivers all bunched over here on the left. And so one of the ways that this formation is sometimes termed is the Y ISO. Y is the tight end. So Y ISO just means that the tight end is, usually when you're talking Y ISO, you're talking about 11 personnel with just the 1 tight end. But essentially it means you have your tight end that is isolated on one side of the formation. So your other receiving options are on the other side of the formation. So the Chiefs like doing that because it can often get Kelce in one-on-one situations over here and give him some favorable matchups. But in this case, they end up going to the other side. And what they do here is they give you against a zone, this is a flood concept. The Falcons here are running essentially a cover 3 zone. So they have 3 guys responsible for deep thirds, and everybody else, they're going to be like middle zones. They're covering the flat. but your 3 deep defenders here are 1, 2, 3. So one thing you do when you have teams playing zones like this is you flood one area of the zone with multiple receivers. And so you make defenders make decisions about who to cover and hopefully leave somebody open. So the way that they flood this zone is at 3 different levels. They have Xavier Worthy going deep and kind of getting to the outside. The deep level, they have Justin Watson hitting a more intermediate, and then they'll have Rashee Rice taking it shallow. So then what happens is you hope that you can have certain defenders where you'll have a defender below them and a defender above them. They call this high-lowing a defender. And so then the defender is going to have to decide to cover the low guy, cover the high guy, and hopefully somebody gets open. So let's see this really quickly in practice so you can see the routes going through. Justin Watson will move to the middle, and remember, Worthy going deep, Watson intermediate, Rice shallow. So here you see it. And so when we talk about high-lowing, you put defenders like this in conflict, right? This defender has to decide, do I come up to cover this or drop back to cover this? And it gives the quarterback options. Similarly, this defender could decide whether they want to focus over here or focus down here. In this case, Worthy looks well and truly covered. This defender kind of remains in an intermediate situation, right? He's a little bit between. And so this is where the genius of Patrick Mahomes comes in. So let's come back and look at this from Mahomes' perspective, right? So he's dropping back, sends Watson in motion. He's dropping back, and he's looking over to the flood side the whole way. At this point, he decides to roll over. His pocket's actually okay at this point. But what's happening is that I think this player 55, who may originally have been waiting to see what Piron's doing, decides to come in and blitz. And at that same time, Mahomes decides to escape down the left side of the pocket, the left side, especially useful in this situation because he's got the flood over to this side. And it looks like at this time he's looking over, and it looks like he's still a little worried about the potential for this defender to drop back. Because he pumps and he doesn't unload. And then what he does, though, is he continues to move toward the line of scrimmage. And look what happens as these defenders now start inching a little bit forward, because now they have to deal with the threat of him running as well as he starts coming up. So the defenders move up, which gives him, as he gets closer to the line of scrimmage, enough of a throw that he feels like the distance of the defenders, and, once you see their motion in this direction, it's one thing that people don't think enough about when you're deciding on whether a quarterback's making a good throw. A still picture doesn't do injustice. You want to think about which direction defenders are moving in while he's throwing. Right, if you're standing still, for you to turn and run back is one thing. If you're moving forward in this direction, it's even harder to turn and run back. So now Mahomes has got these guys moving up, and they're farther away, which gives him the comfort that he's got the hole there to make that throw to Watson, which he does for the first down. His movement is so critical to this play and giving him, he starts from over here, which, again, remember, you have to think about the amount of time it takes for a throw to get there. If he's going to throw to the sideline from over here, he starts on the right hash, but let's say he's going to make this throw now. He's starting in the middle of the field. The distance of this throw compared to when he does make the throw from over here, he throws it from this spot here. This is just a much shorter throw, and he actually even drops it a little short. Watson comes back to it. So that gives you even more confidence that it's not going to be a turnover. The defenders don't have time to react, because what immediately happens is it's all well and good if your receiver looks open when you're about to throw the ball here, but immediately as you throw the ball, defenders start to react and close windows. So those windows that looked so open as the ball was, you were thinking about releasing it, as you start throwing the ball, those windows close fast. And so by moving over there, He not only moves defenders, he decreases the distance of his throw and just ensures that his guy's open and he's able to complete this pass on a crucial third down. Now let's look at it from the end zone view. And this is especially useful to kind of look at where he's going. So he's looking over to the flood the whole time, right? This is where he wants to go with the ball. And he pumps, it's like 3 times. So he's really trying to make sure he's in a position where he feels comfortable getting the ball over there through the coverage and for a first down. And one thing I do want to shout out, I should go back to the end zone view, is veteran wide receiver Justin Watson. Watch this. If you step out of bounds before the ball comes and you're the first receiver to touch the ball, that is an incomplete pass. That is, you're an ineligible receiver to touch the ball the first. Look at how well he does. And, what I hear is that a lot of times these guys run routes so often, it's almost innate to them that there's this inherent sense of where the sideline is. Even just knowing by the number of steps it took them to get out there. But he does such a good job of not stepping out of bounds, because then this would not have been a conversion. He's tiptoeing down the sideline, coming back to the football, and he gets a first down. That's a huge play. Now here we are. We're on the same drive. The Chiefs now are facing a 3rd and 3 just outside the Falcons' 13-yard line. And this is a play, I think the major takeaway from this is just how important the details of what Andy Reid does are and how they lead to successful offense. So the Chiefs are in 11 personnel. They've got the 1 running back, Samaje Perine. The 1 tight end is Travis Kelce. And the Falcons are actually going to they're running man in their cover 1. So they're going to have Jesse Bates over here this is Jesse Bates right there. He's the 1 deep safety. And they're running a cover 1 blitz. So they're sending 5. They still have 1 defender that can be like an underneath robber defender because Samaje Perine stays in the block. So what do the Chiefs do? The Chiefs are going to motion Rashee Rice in, and this is extremely important actually for the play. But what they do is they have Worthy kind of run to the corner. They have Juju come up and then come out, and then Rashee Rice is running a shorter out. And the important part of this is what Rashee Rice does and where he releases from. So what Rice does, watch this, is he comes in and he gets just inside of Juju right at the snap. And now look, Juju is coming up to clear out before eventually coming over to the right. Rice has released inside of Juju and is going to come out. And watch the effect of what that has with Rice's defender, this guy, number 20. So Juju comes up, and Juju now gets right in between the defender and the sideline right as Rice starts making his out cut. That time is extremely important because what that does is it acts as a natural pick or rub. And Juju is so good. He does this so well. The timing is so important. He doesn't even contact the defender. So there's never going to be a foul called on this play, right? Offensive pass interference gets called if the receiver is not running his route and instead is trying to pick or interfere with a defender that's trying to cover his man. But if the receiver is running his route and they hit the defender or the defender hits them, that's not offensive pass interference if the official feels like this receiver was just trying to do his job on the play. Well, there's never a time the official's even going to get involved if there's no contact. So this route is designed to just slow down this defender by a split second. And that's exactly what it does perfectly. And that's enough room then for Rice to catch this ball and get to the end zone. It's such a well-designed play, and it doesn't work if Rice doesn't get inside of Juju right at the snap, because that brings that defender, and Juju does such a good job of coming out side of Rice's defender right there. And Rice also, it's crucial that right as this happened is when you make your break. And that's what Rice does here. He curls out right as Juju's there. A perfect rub route concept, a really well-designed play. And as you can see, Rice gets wide open. And Mahomes ends up facing a rush here from 55. Pirine has the unenviable task of trying to get up, and Pirine slows him down just enough for Mahomes to get this throw off, which is all that matters. And you see the separation. That's wide open in the NFL. And it's all set up by this man here with his great rub route. But the way the two of them played off of each other together is what set it up. And just look at it one more time. Everything here is the timing. The timing of Rice getting inside of Juju before the snap. The timing of Juju, well, this is positioning of Juju getting outside of Rice's defender. And then the timing of Rice making that cut right as Juju is there to just slow up the defender a little bit to create that opening for a touchdown. A beautifully designed play. All right, we've jumped a little bit in the game. Since that Chiefs touchdown we just showed you, the Falcons have come down and scored a touchdown. The Chiefs have come down and answered with a field goal, and we're sitting in a 14-10 game. Falcons leading at the 2-minute warning with the ball just outside their 32-yard line. They've got a 2nd and 8, and here they are lined up in an empty set. So the purpose of this play is just to talk about all the things that Steve Spagnuolo does to confuse an offense. So let's get started. The Chiefs here are lined up. They've got 2 linebackers on the field. So they're in their nickel package with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 defensive backs. Right. So they're kind of in a formation anticipating pass. And they right now have Nick Bolton up here at the line of scrimmage to join the 4 down linemen. Their safeties look like they're in a cover 2 orientation. But then as we get closer to the snap, the one safety rotates down and Brian Cook makes it appear like they're in single high. Single high usually has man underneath. So you would think then if they really are in single highs that maybe he's manned up on him like this. Then you would think Bolton would either blitz or come back and play a robber, or maybe Bolton is like going to come out and get this person and this person plays robber. That's what a cover 1 look would make you think coverage-wise. But actually at the snap, they have, is this Conner? This is Conner down here. They have Conner bail, and he's actually playing a deep half, and he's playing a deep half. So this is actually a cover 2 zone. And they've got the corners coming out in cloud coverage. They've got Karlaftis actually came from his defensive line position to help in the zone. Tranquil on the top ended up blitzing. And Bolton ended up dropping off here too. So Bolton dropped off, Karlaftis dropped off into zones, and Tranquil ended up blitzing. And they have a blitz, and they get FAU coming free. Cousins, because of the kind of change in coverage, is not able to get a throw off hot, and he might not feel that the rush is coming this quickly. And if you notice, none of these are like quick, like hot routes, right? The one hot route that they kind of have is we've got over the middle. This looks like, I can't tell if that's a 7 or a 1. That's either Bijan Robinson or Darnell Mooney. I think it's Bijan, because I think this is Mooney right here. So I think this is Bijan Robinson coming over the middle. And Nick Bolton, this is another situation where probably doesn't get enough credit sometimes for being as smart as he is. See, the ball snapped here just at the 32-yard line. So 5 yards from the line of scrimmage would be somewhere around here, just outside the 37. So Bijan, when he comes over here, remember, you're allowed to contact receivers within the first 5 yards. he's the one guy that could be considered hot, and Bolton just jams him, which is exactly what you should do, because until you get here, any contact is fair game. So Bolton knocks him off of his route. Not that it would matter, because Cousins was looking this way anyway, where nobody is hot. Like, I don't think the receivers have any awareness. Normally in this situation, like, you want to do something to present yourself to the quarterback, either like pull this off and run out or something. Doesn't happen in this instance, and so Cousins eats it for the sack. But the real genius and the real focus I want to have on this play is what Spags did at the line of scrimmage to get FAU to come off free. So you look at the people that they have to account for. 1, 2, he could be coming for 5, right? So the way that they have to set up their protection, they have to have the tackle here on Karlaftis, the guard for Chris Jones. The center has to pay attention to Nick Bolton, because if Bolton ends up blitzing, he's got to take him. So that leaves the guard for Wharton and the tackle for FAU. But what Spags does so well is he gets blockers blocking nothing. And the way that he accomplishes that, so we can see what their protection is going to end up having to be, right? 3, 4, 5. You have to account for these people who are showing that they're coming. Well, he ends up dropping out, so the left tackle's got nobody to block. The guard still takes Chris Jones. He drops out, so the center has nobody to block. So the guard and center are essentially wasting their time out here. Wharton goes to the left guard, and then the tackle, unfortunately, has FAU, but Tranquil blitzes too. And so in most cases with the offensive line, the rule of thumb ends up being that when in doubt, take the inside guy. So he's the guy that was not accounted for that ended up blitzing. Because he blitzes, look at the tackle have to change course, the left tackle here. Initially, the left tackle is setting thinking he's getting FAU. But then he notices that Tranquil is coming on a blitz too, inside. So he, like following most rules, takes the inside guy, and FAU becomes a free rusher the outside. Cousins doesn't seem to be like incredibly hurried, so he may not realize about this breakdown, and FAU ends up causing the sack. So it's amazing, like Spags ends up only rushing 4, so this actually isn't even a blitz. This is what they would term simulated pressure, where you end up running still the normal number of guys rushing the quarterback, but the pressure assumed from, they drop out linemen, they put in players that are normally considered blitzers, they're linebackers, and so your protection gets confused. So he is accounted for, but he ends up not rushing. He's accounted for, he ends up not rushing. He's not accounted for, but he ends up blitzing, and that's what ends up getting him free. All in all, it's nice for Chiefs fans to be watching FAU make a play. He's the Chiefs' first-round pick from last year. I know he was unblocked on that play, but he did about everything one could ask. He sacked the quarterback and forced a fumble on it, so... And shout out here at the bottom to Bijan Robinson for making a heads-up play and kicking the ball out of bounds, which is a penalty, but it's better to lose 10 yards than to lose the football. Well, I think he felt pretty certain, and I agree with him, that a Chief was probably going to recover this ball if he didn't kick it. So he went down and kicked it, and he ended up losing 10 yards for the Falcons, but they got to punt it away. Here's another view of what we were talking about earlier. So, this is how the line has to account for people. He's going to block Karlaftis. He's going to block Jones. He has to account for Bolton, because you can't let the middle linebacker just run up. He's over the tackle. He's got FAU. So, when Tranquil comes and blitzes, and Bolton drops back, and Karlaftis drops back, then suddenly he's not doing anything, and he has got two guys to worry about. So he picks up the inside guy, and the outside guy is a free rusher. There he comes. There's the fumble, and there's Bijan kicking it out of bounds to save a fumble recovery. All right, same score. We're still at 14-10 Falcons. Now there are 41 seconds to go in the second quarter, and they have the ball just inside that 35-yard line. Now the Falcons look to be in 11 personnel. They've got the one running back and the one tight end. Gives you 11, and they've got 3 wide receivers. And the Chiefs, in this case, the Chiefs look like they've gone full dime. Nick Bolton's the only linebacker on the field here. So they've got 6 defensive backs out in coverage, and they are running a cover 1 man, and their robber defender is here, Chamarri Conner. Nick Bolton actually ends up being responsible for Bijan here. And so what the Falcons try to do, they have like double in cuts that they run, which they kind of run them at the same depth, so something looks wrong on that side. But in any case, Cousins is working this side, and London kind of runs a curl, and then he kind of comes in and out at the end. And Pitts is running a corner, and he's manned up on Justin Reed, who has had a little bit of a struggle in coverage so far this season. Not that covering deep has ever been his real forte. Like, he's a very good box safety and just very intelligent as far as like where to be and reading plays and getting to the right spots. But I don't know that man coverage is his strong suit, and it has appeared to be more of a struggle than usual this year. But so they're trying to get Pitts on this corner, and he actually is in a fairly good position right here. If Cousins is able to put a throw out here, that's probably a big gain. However, if we look here, the Chiefs' pass rush again does well. The big story of the first 3 games, obviously Chris Jones has been dominant, but everyone expected that. But Tershawn Wharton, who was drafted in 2020, who then, after a promising rookie year, he wasn't drafted in 2020, he was an undrafted free agent out of a tech school in Rolla, Missouri S&T. He was undrafted and was a promising rookie. He made the 53 and played well in a small role in the 2020 season. 21, he tore his ACL, and he's never really seemed to look the same. I think he did, if I remember correctly, have another injury. I can't remember if that was in 22 or 23, but he had 2 big injuries that kind of hampered him, and it looks like he's kind of all the way back. I think actually his other injury was in 22, and I remember the run defense looking very good while he was there. It was just for a week or 2, and he got hurt very early in the season. It's possible that one was the ACL, and I'm forgetting what the other injury was. But anyway, it's so nice to see him healthy, and we actually noticed, we pointed out on, I think, our first film review, the Chiefs at Jaguars preseason game, that Wharton was looking pretty good. He had some incredible snaps, and he has another one here, which has been in line with what he's been doing so far this year. Watch him go to work on the right guard and get him back into the backfield. And Wharton actually on this play hits Cousins' arm. You can see Wharton's left arm right here about to hit the arm that he's throwing the ball with. So he hits Cousins' arm and causes this ball to flutter way short of its target. And Chamarri Conner, who was the robber on this play, but if you watch him, he was kind of more bracketing Pitts. They kind of sent him over with extra tension on Pitts. He ends up just kind of playing center fielder and picking this ball off. And man, Atlanta has got to feel good about Drake London being there, because if Drake London did not make this tackle, There is nobody to the left of this line that I'm drawing. Conner could have sailed down and may have scored a touchdown. But Pitts gets it to him. Watson takes the lateral, but the Falcons are able to close this off. If Conner had been able to take a full head of steam from right here, getting this interception, if London had, if Watson had been in between them or something, Conner probably takes this to the house. So, really worked out for Atlanta in this situation. But a great play by Tershawn Wharton, who ultimately, we'll watch it again, just dominates the guard, pushes him right back into the quarterback, and gets to Kirk Cousins' arm to force this interception. Now we'll get to see it again from the end zone view. And this is the man of the hour, Turk Wharton, and just watch him initially just bull rush the guard and then finally get around him on the left and ultimately get to Kirk Cousins' throwing arm. Causes the ball to flutter, and Conner, great tackle there by London, otherwise Conner would have been gone for 6. Great play by the defense. All right, we're on the other side of halftime now. This is the Chiefs' first drive of the second half. They're down 14-13, and they've got a first down just inside Atlanta's 36-yard line. Now, the Chiefs come out in 12 personnel. They've got the one running back, Carson Steele, and their 2 tight ends, Noah Gray and Travis Kelce, are over here. So they've got 2 wide receivers here at the bottom of the screen. This looks like Xavier Worthy and Justin Watson. So now the Falcons are playing a cover 1 man, and their robber, I believe, is the safety Justin Simmons. So otherwise, everywhere else they're playing man across the board. And what the Chiefs do is they run a route combination. They have a couple guys running clear outs, both the wide receivers. So Worthy is coming up the field this way. Watson is coming up the field this way. And they both keep the eyes of our deep safety. And then Kelce is coming and just running a dig route across the middle of the field, and Noah Gray opens up late and comes out toward the sideline. So this is one of those rare times during the game where extra attention wasn't really paid to Kelce. As you can see, they kind of do start with him like having the robber help bracket him. But as he runs the dig route and comes over, the robber chooses to stay, leaving Kelce one-on-one over the middle. And you can see, if you watch Mahomes, he's looking for Kelce in the break. And right when he sees he's one-on-one, he does not hesitate, and he just rips this ball. Watch him throw this. It was nice to see him throwing this so decisively. Matt Lane of Kansas City Sports Center would say he was throwing it with his chest. Threw that ball very decisively for first down to Kelce. Now, that's the kind of thing that I think one should pay attention to, in that when Kelce's getting man coverage, he can get open. And when he gets open, Mahomes is looking for him. So I think the idea that Kelce is a decoy or that he's really declining a lot, I think has been overstated. I think that we have other weapons, and so if teams are going to double Kelce a lot, we're happy to go elsewhere. But when they do leave him open and give him opportunities like this, he will punish them, and they'll go right back into devoting extra attention to him. You can see it from this view. I think it really helps to see the decisiveness of this throw. Look at how, boom, he just ripped it in there. And it's a nice first down. He's got a corner on him, Mike Hughes, and he still has him beat by a step. 17-yard gain to Kelce. All right. Now the Chiefs are up 16-14, and they've got a 1st and 10 at their own 31-yard line. In this case, the Chiefs have come out in 11 personnel. Carson Steele is their running back. Noah Gray is their tight end. Travis Kelce's not on the field for this play. And they've got 3 wide receivers. They've got, this is Worthy here and Juju Smith-Schuster over here. And on the left side, they have Rashee Rice. And Worthy and Juju kind of run a similar route combination to what we were talking about on the previous play. This play looks a lot like the previous play, just out of a slightly different formation and with different people running the principal routes. So the Falcons now, instead of a cover 1, are actually in cover 2 man. So they've got 2 deep safeties and they're playing man underneath. And the Chiefs do kind of the same thing. Juju runs a clear out. This time Worthy is the one that runs kind of the deep over clear out. And then they have Rice coming over on the crosser that Kelce ran earlier. And they have Gray. Gray's gonna come in and settle tight. We can actually move forward to show that. There, he settles tight, and Gray's gonna come out to the flat. So the only kind of difference, so the last play was Kelce last time. He had Gray on this side going to the flat. And Kelce was the one that came over on the crosser. But they are running this again against cover 2 man. One big difference, too, is I think this underneath linebacker, who probably was supposed to be manned up against Gray. So, they have Gray wide open here in the flat, which I think it's a little bit by design and partially because he's seeing Mahomes looking for the crosser, and so he ends up dropping, which ends up making the throw to the crosser even that much more impressive. So Rice has got his man beat, right? He's coming on an intermediate crosser, but look at this throw, because he ends up having to drop it over this linebacker who was dropped, and the linebacker didn't get great depth, so he didn't make it impossible, but you can see him try to jump for it and not able to get it. So this is a really good throw. We can watch it in real time, but watch him as Rice comes across, just drops this throw in for a big first down. Ended up being a 27-yard gain. To me, this was Mahomes' best throw of the night. And you can see it here. So 55 is the one that, instead of following Gray out to the flat, noticed, and we can see it ourselves in Mahomes' eyes, he's looking down the field. He's looking for the crosser. And you can see 55 looking at Mahomes and reacting to that. So he sees that something's happening, so he's trying to get depth to see where Mahomes is trying to go. And look at this throw. That's a fantastic throw. That was the throw of the night to me. Right in stride. Beautiful throw for a first down. So that concept served the Chiefs well. The other thing I wanted to note from this play is that keep your eyes on Mahomes after the play. He actually takes quite a shot after the play into the back. So on this play, regrettably, was one of the plays where Wanya Morris got beat really badly. And Carson Steele came over to help chip. And even with that, the pass rusher, I believe that's Arnold Ebiketie over there. No, it's not Ebiketie. Forgive me, Falcons fans, I don't know who that is. But he gets around the edge and almost disrupts this throw. But look, he does end up hitting Mahomes at the end, and Mahomes kind of gets hit in the back of the legs and goes right into another lineman. So he does take a bit of a shot right there at the end, but it ends up being a really wonderful throw. And we can see the throw one more time from the end zone view as he drops back. Again, note the decisiveness. When he's throwing that crossing route to Rice and Kelce, looks so decisive. Just fires that in there. Beautiful throw. And that's a big first down on a drive that ultimately ended in a touchdown. All right, we're still on the same drive, and the Chiefs are now in a 3rd and 7, right around the Falcons' 12-yard line. This is a particularly troubling 3rd and 7 because on 2nd and 4, they threw a wide receiver screen out to Rashee Rice, and he was injured on the tackle from Ajay Terrell. It ended up being some temporary, he wasn't out for the game or anything, but he was not available for this play. And Rice had by far been the most effective pass-catching option, and now the Chiefs are in a big spot here. They're up 16-14, trying to score on this drive, and they've got a 3rd and 7. They, to this point, have kicked 3 field goals and only had the 1 touchdown, which was on their second drive. They had another red zone drive end and an interception, so they're really looking to get points here. And they did what, this is an old reliable for Andy Reid when he needs a big play from against man coverage. And he's anticipating man coverage, he will call a mesh play. And the point of a mesh route combination is to get two receivers running, kind of crossing around. This time it'll be Justin Watson. He's going to come in motion and run. So you run these two, and oftentimes the way it's designed is one person is supposed to be the quote-unquote picker and kind of pick for the other person to try to help them get open and get free on the drag. And that is what they ended up running here. So the Falcons are in cover one man. So Justin Simmons ends up being your deep safety here, and they are manned up across the board. You can see everybody's manned up here. And they actually end up running a blitz out of this. So they kind of cover the wide receivers. The running back stays in P. Ryan, and they end up blitzing off of it. And if you notice, what a lot of teams do in these situations, Justin Watson runs in motion to kind of come over initially, and they just switch responsibility. This guy takes Watson, and this guy takes Worthy. So, Worthy is just kind of clearing out to the corner. Travis Kelce had come up and just run like a curl here. But the importance is the mesh concept here. So you're just trying to get two guys, and you want one guy to identify and do his best to disrupt the other guy's man. So Watson is clearly like the picker here, and he's done this before. Even, he did it very well even 2 years ago against the Chargers. Travis Kelce's game-winning touchdown was on mesh, and Watson was the picker. So watch Justin Watson first, because he's really the key to this play. So he comes across, and he identifies that this is Juju's man right here, right? And so he comes, he disrupts, and he does a good job of not making any contact whatsoever. So again, we've talked about this in one of the previous clips when Juju was kind of setting up pick for Rashee Rice. If you don't make contact, there's no way that they can call offensive pass interference. Because if you look here, it's actually very clear that Watson at this point is not running his route, right? He's trying to identify the defender and get in their way, but he's very good about not making any contact and not committing interference. Watson, the man covering Watson, kind of realizes what's happening here and tries to stop and double back and help out on Juju. But at that point, it's too late. He's gotten in the way enough, and both defenders are at a disadvantage. They're out leveraged enough that Juju's able to catch this and get into the end zone for a touchdown. This is, old reliable for Andy Reid. He runs this a lot when he anticipates man, and this time he got Juju open for a touchdown. Really, though, the kind of hero of this play and the guy who does the dirty work is Justin Watson, who really got Juju open here. And this proved to be the kind of game-winning points, as this got the Chiefs to 22. Butker missed the extra point, but they ended up winning 22-17. All right, the Falcons have the ball here. They're trailing 22-14, and they've got a 2nd and 7 at the Chiefs' 36-yard line. The Falcons come out here in 11 personnel. They've got one running back, one tight end. That's Kyle Pitts over there, and they've got 3 wide receivers. And the Chiefs are in a nickel formation. They've got 2 linebackers, and they have 5 defensive backs. 2, 3, 4, 5. So the Falcons, they end up motioning Ray McLeod over to the left, and the Chiefs show blitz with Nick Bolton. So then, we talked about this a little bit on the last play. The offensive line has to start thinking about who's accounting for whom. So they've got their tackle on Karlaftis. The guard is here on Wharton. The center is going to have to look at Bolton. Then the left guard is going to be here, and the left tackle has to take Mike Dana. So that's who we've got all 5 accounted for, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, what did the Chiefs end up doing? So, first of all, the route combination from the Falcons, they've got kind of double goes. Ray McCloud's going to come around here and go. And then London is going to run a deep over. And Pitts is going to run it out. And this is a play-action pass, so the Falcons are trying to take a shot here. But the play-action pass and blitz don't often go together. The Chiefs have 5 right up here on the line, and we talked about how they're accounted for. And Spagnuolo, again, does a great job of having more in coverage than you think. He actually drops Karlaftis, which ends up being very helpful in this play because he covers Kyle Pitts' out route really well. And then he blitzes Tranquil. So remember, because he's blitzing Tranquil, let's watch this start in motion. Remember, we talked about everybody being accounted for, right? Here, Pinnell's accounted for there. 3, 4. Well, the right tackle is accounting for Karlaftis, who drops off. So the right tackle and guard end up actually double teaming Wharton here. But who's not accounted for is Tranquil, who gets a free release through the middle. Now, they do have a running back here that can participate in pass protection, right? Bijan Robinson. But the problem is he's involved in the play action, which actually pulls him so far away that he's not able to impede Tranquil's progress to the quarterback. And so Kirk Cousins ends up just having to dump it at Bijan Robinson's feet. But if you notice, these are long developing routes, right? They don't have any chance unless Cousins just throws up a prayer, when Tranquil's screaming down his face. The one route that does have some hope is this out route by Kyle Pitts, but this is where Karlaftis dropped back and ended up covering it quite well. So it ends up being a situation where the Chiefs really only rushed 5, but they weren't able to block with 5 because he dropped Karlaftis, and so who they had accounted for. So you ended up having both the tackle and the guard looking over at Tershawn Wharton and giving a free run for Tranquil, who ends up completely disrupting this play. We can see it from here again. So it's all based on what you show pre-snap and what you get their protection to have to account for. So Bolton ends up drawing, somebody has to block him, right? You can't leave him. He's very dangerous if he's going to blitz here. He's got a straight line to the quarterback, as Tranquil just showed us, or will show us in a second. So here, he's going to have to account for him. He's accounting for Pinnell. Center's accounting for Bolton. Guard's accounting for Wharton. Tackle's accounting for Karlaftis, right? Well, Karlaftis bails, so the tackle ends up without anyone they're responsible for. But everybody here is blocking somebody. And then after the action on a delayed blitz comes Tranquil, and no one's there to account for him. That would be his job, but since he's going off in the play action motion, Tranquil gets a free shot to come in. So let's watch this in action. You can see with Karlaftis dropping here, there's a double team there. And then Tranquil times this very well to wait until everyone's kind of accounted for, hits the gap, and you can see Bijan Robinson's play action. He just isn't able to get back over there to take care of Tranquil. So Tranquil's able to slip on right by and completely blow up this play. You can see it in real time. It's all about what Spagnuolo shows and how he drops people out to confuse protections, get into situations where he has free rushers. It's really well done and was very impactful in this play. All right, we've got the very next play now. It's 3rd and 7. Falcons are still down 22-14 at the 36-yard line. And we've got another master class from Steve Spagnuolo. So let's look at it. The Falcons, again, are in their 11 personnel. This time the tight end is over here. So 1 running back, 1 tight end. Gives you 11 personnel. You got 3 wide receivers. And the Chiefs this time appear to be in their dime package. Their only linebacker is Nick Bolton. They've got 6 defensive backs on the field. And Spags again tries to start confusing their pressure. So let's see how they're lined up. Chris Jones has come over here across the left guard. So now tackles accounting for Dana, Jones in the guard, Wharton in the center. And then Karlaftis is way out wide here. So the left tackle is going to have to look for him. And you've got Bolton showing. So at this point, it looks like the left guard is going to take responsibility for him. But then they run into the problem of Justin Reed is creeping up to the line of scrimmage too. So what the Falcons ultimately do is they save the left guard for Justin Reed and assign Bijan Robinson to come in pass protection to take Nick Bolton. Well, what ends up happening is Justin Reed drops out. So again, like Spagnuolo is so good. He just has the right guard out there blocking nobody. And then there's an even extra wrinkle added to this. So we've got Reed being accounted for and then Reed dropping out. So the right guard isn't blocking anybody. And then at the last minute, because they're in a condensed formation, Jalen Watson is able to blitz off the edge, adding another rusher. And so look at how this plays out. Here they come. You can see the right guard is staying available in case Justin Reed is going to blitz. Bijan Robinson is taking Bolton. And then down here, Jalen Watson comes screaming in. And he's unblocked and comes free. Now, that all ends up being somewhat moot because Tershawn Wharton continues his amazing run this season so far and just gets right by the center. And he gets in Cousins' face even sooner. Karlaftis, who is intentionally running wide to open up a gap so that Jalen Watson can run through, he ends up coming too. I mean, he got pretty good bend around the edge here. But also it helps that Wharton's presence caused Cousins to drop back even farther. So that gave Karlaftis a better angle to run into. If your quarterback kind of stays up on his spot, if you run this wide, it becomes a little harder. You know, the lineman can kind of push you out around. But since Wharton's getting pressure up the middle, then Cousins has to drop, and that gives a better angle for Karlaftis to come in. In any case, he's getting pressure from 3 sides. Ends up being a play that he has to throw again. He just tries to dump it to Bijan Robinson. That brings up a 4th down, and the Falcons are forced to kick a field goal. Let's look at the protections again from up here. So what we were saying was we've got, he's responsible for him here, and then he's got here. And so then the initial thought would be that he would take Bolton. But as Reed creeps in, the guard ends up having eyes for Reed, and they assign Bijan to come in here, which is all fine and dandy, except then Jalen Watson comes off the edge and comes free. However, even before Jalen Watson can make any impact, Tershawn Wharton just blows right through, gets around the center quickly, and the center just can't get to him. He's so quick around and gets into the backfield. And you can see Cousins dropping partially because of Wharton's pressure. And so Karlaftis, who does a good job bending around the edge here, gets just a better angle to go get him. Ooh. Here we go. Karlaftis gets a better angle to go get him. And you get pressure from 3 areas, and Cousins just got nothing to do with this ball. And the Chiefs defense forces a field goal. All right, so now for the final play of this film review, we're looking at the Falcons' final play with the ball. They've got 4th and 1 at the 13-yard line, and there is under a minute left. So this ostensibly is for the ball game. They're still down 22-17, having failed a 4th down conversion on their previous drive. So this is for the game. If they can't get this, the game is over. If they get this, they're still alive with a chance to win the game with a touchdown. The Falcons line up in a big package here. They end up having 2 tight ends and 2 running backs. This is 22 personnel. And they have 1 wide receiver, Drake London, who almost is like a tight end himself. So it's kind of almost 23 personnel. And the Chiefs go on in a very lineman-heavy setup here. So they've got Karlaftis, Nadi, Pinnell, and who is this over here? Is that Malik Herring? No, that's Dana. Oh, it doesn't look like a 5 from this angle. It's interesting. Okay. So let's see. Karlaftis, Nadi, Pinnell, Dana. So there's 4 down linemen. Leo Chenal is essentially playing like a lineman over here. And then they got Brian Cook and is that Jalen Watson up there, I believe, though, on the tight ends. So Brian Cook and Jalen Watson are on the tight ends. So they really have 4 down linemen, but Chanel, I believe, is kind of playing like another lineman. They also have Tranquil down at the line of scrimmage, and then Reed and Bolton are both out. So they really end up having 4 defensive backs, 3 linebackers, and 4 linemen. They're just running their base personnel. It's just that with Chanel in there, it's almost like having a 50 lineman in certain scenarios. So the Falcons are going to run like a stretch play to the left, so we can see the beginning of it, how this develops. So they're basically just running like outside zone to the left and trying to get an opening. And the real key here is you want to look at the big 3 on this play are Pinnell, Dana, and Chanel. Or Chanel, I need to start saying his name right. Pinnell, Dana, and Chanel end up just, look at where the line of scrimmage is, look at where we're starting. So we're starting at about the 13-yard line. So just watch these 3 and watch where they end up. So they're starting at the 13-yard line, and look at the push that they get. Like the lineman's feet here are beyond the 15-yard line. They've at least moved it to like the 14 and a half. So that's so important on these stretch runs because it widens where the back has to go. They can't like get upfield. And it creates wider holes for penetrating linebackers to get through. So these guys just as a mass push everyone back, and it makes it very easy. Bolton has a huge gap, and credit to him for he was really good in this game in general at just keying on these things quickly, seeing what's happening, get going downhill fast. And he comes in and makes a great tackle. It's not like it's easy to wrap up Bijan Robinson, but he gets his ankle, brings him down for a loss on 4th and 1. Huge play, but really the major credit is to these 3 guys here and the huge push that they provided to make this play. And we'll be able to see it even better from the end zone view. So what you're really wanting to look at is these 3 right here, how they are able to move things. So they just push everything back, and look how much it flattens Robinson, right? There's no chance of him like finding any gap here, but it flattens where he has to go so much, increasing the time that penetrating players have to get to him, and just making him bow out further to slow everything down and make it easier for pursuit to come. And Bolton, that's a really, really good hit. So, those 3, like, look at Chanel. Go back, watch him. Look at how much push he's getting here. I mean, the three of them really set this play up, and Bolton just shoots the gap so well and makes a great tackle. It's a big stop for the defense and ended up winning the game. Like this was the game right here. And the Chiefs lived to see another day. Well, that's it for the Week 3 film review of Chiefs at Falcons. Stay tuned tomorrow. We will put up the film review of the Chargers at Steelers game. Probably at the same time as this one goes up today. And then we will be back. We'll continue to have some clips that we'll post throughout the week from these film reviews and from the podcast we released on Monday of this week. And then we will be back. Again, follow along on social media at STCF715. We will be on Twitter for the Chiefs and Steelers games this weekend, especially after the games. We'll post some clips and some thoughts. And then we'll be back on Monday with another podcast recapping the week and looking ahead. We're already getting to week 4 now. So we'll do a week 4 recap and then look ahead to the matchups on week 5. Thank you all so much for all of you that are following along and commenting. We really appreciate it. Until next time.